They're video people.
Hi, everybody.
And audio people.
This is my hat today. It's a shirt that says, I listen to bands that don't exist
Don't
yet.
even exist yet. Whoa.
That's my hat. In lieu of a hat, I thought, funny t-shirt.
I'm wearing a Samsung Lions hat.
I'm wearing a pure ponage hat.
Nice.
I don't need a hat because I have headphones.
Headphones are his hat. I am... if you don't subscribe to the Patreon RSS audio feed, you might want to do that, because we had a whole walk down memory lane about podcasts just now.
Podcasting, yes.
Pretty fun.
It was wonderful.
Do you remember podcasting, guys?
Do you remember that? Do you remember? It was before the YouTubes.
It was a pretty amazing time. It was magical. It was pretty magical, though. Podcast Alley, all that stuff. It was great.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I started telling people that I do YouTube, and they're like, "Oh, cool! How do you make money?"
That's still a question.
Like the first question I always get.
You know what? When I figure that out, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I've been wondering that too.
Still trying to figure it out.
How do I make money?
Oh man, I want to say the podcasting actually launched my art career in some ways, because I was doing advertising, and then when I started doing album art for people on Podcast Alley, then I really started switching focus to art. So thanks to podcasting, opened up a totally brand new. Well, I was independent before then, but it really, I was, this allowed me to do stuff where I was like, I'm drawing. This is cool.
Yeah. You weren't drawing what other. Well, I mean, I guess you're drawing what other people want.
I am, but it was, but it was a shift from what I was normally doing, which was just advertising and marketing and stuff. So
instead of drawing another Virginia Slims ad,
Around still?
Because Len worked in 1963.
I did. We actually started that conversation a little bit earlier. That I was going to be Don Draper. So.
That it was started in 1968, the brand. So you were so hipster, Len, that you started working.
Well, they had to start brand development.
I did. I started when I was in the womb.
Yeah.
Even just a thought in my parents'
came out with a pack in one hand and a lighter in the other.
I did, though. I did so want to be like a Don Draper type. And when I worked at an advertising agency, like my bosses and stuff, they were all
enigmatic and angry. Yeah.
Yeah. They were. Yeah. I worked with a lot of interesting people in my advertising days. It's hard to keep up with those people. They talk about like the martini lunches and stuff.
Yeah.
They were those, and I was like, God, I can't keep up with you guys.
When I worked at the used bookstore in Austin, we did Mexican martini lunches.
That's tough, man. That's tough. Yes, it's hard to keep up with that stuff. I'm like, I got kids, man. I can't. I know. Go home. I can't go home drunk.
All right, shall we? Are you all ready?
Ready.
Yeah. Oh, I got to give you control, don't I?
Control.
There was something. There you go. All right, here we go.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you want to help out the Daily Tech News Show? Well, it's really easy. Just go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support and find out how. Thank you.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, August 25th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt, alongside Shannon Morse from TechThing and Hack5 and so many other wonderful things. How are you, Shannon?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing today, Tom?
We're going to talk about robot priests and just-in-time learning today.
It's going to be good times.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be just in a good time.
Just in a good time.
The acronym for that. Len Peralta is here as well to illustrate the episode. How you doing, Len? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling good, and somehow I today's drawing, I don't know what's going to happen with this one, but it should be pretty interesting. Hopefully, it won't be scary at the end of this.
Wow, scary! I'm intrigued.
Yes.
I can't wait to find out what you drew. Roger Chang, our producer, is here as well to show you some screens and keep the show moving. Roger, we're very glad you're here.
Yeah, so I'm here to show screens.
That's not the only thing you're doing. I was trying to define your life. It's just among the many things. that you're doing?
I'm a slideshow. I'm a
human slideshow.
You're very important, Roger.
Roger Chang, the human slideshow. All right, now that I've insulted Roger unintentionally, let's start with a few tech things you should know. Apple sent a note to some developers Thursday saying, quote, under the U.S. sanctions regulations, the App Store cannot host, distribute, or do business with apps or developers connected to certain U.S. embargoed countries. Just come out and say it, Apple. There's no need to be catty. You're talking about Iran. Apple does not operate in Iran, but some developers there have created apps and submitted them in app stores outside the country, and that's what Apple's cracking down on now. Google, interestingly, does allow apps to be distributed in Iran as long as they don't charge anything.
Huh, that's interesting. So I wonder what the actual law says. I mean, I see that it says the App Store cannot host, distribute, or do business with apps, but why is free okay? Because it's still a part of the app.
Well, I mean, Google is interpreting the sanctions differently than Apple. I guess Apple's just saying, we don't want to get in the business of trying to judge, so we're not going to allow any of them. And there were just some tweaks to the sanctions recently, and that may be why Apple decided it had to crack down harder.
I guess Apple just doesn't want to deal with the drama involved and associated with trying to figure out the U.S. law, so they just decided to go with it. They were just like, okay, just cut them all off. Moving on, Bloomberg's Mark Gurman reports that Apple plans to unveil an updated Apple TV with 4K streaming support and a focus on live television at their September 12th announcement. The updated Apple TV will reportedly support HDR video. I feel like this is a long time coming.
Yeah,
like we've seen these capabilities in Roku for quite some time, HDR video, 4K streaming, and such. Live TV is a new thing, though. That'll probably buy them some sales for sure.
Yeah, Apple generally doesn't jump on the trend first, right? So I'm not shocked that they waited a little while for this to happen. Samsung had. Go ahead.
They were also pretty behind when it came to sharing the platform with other streaming services as well. I believe it was it Prime or Hulu or one of those wasn't on the Apple TVs for a long time.
Yeah, we still haven't seen it on. Supposedly they're coming. They announced that at WWDC, but has not showed up yet. Voodoo is on there though. You can't purchase through their app. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of echo from someone, so if someone could keep an eye on that. Samsung head vice chairman J.Y. Lee was found guilty of embezzlement and bribery and sentenced to 5 years in prison by a Seoul Central District Court. Lee and 4 other Samsung executives were accused of paying money to Choi Soon-sil, a friend of former President Park Geun-hye, in exchange for approval of corporate reorganization plans. 2 other Samsung executives were sentenced to 4 years in prison, and 2 others were given suspended sentences. Samsung intends to appeal the decisions. They are doing fine. They had a great profitability report recently, but they don't have the visionary head. And the way these cables work in Samsung is the head generally doesn't run the company as hands-on as maybe some US executives, but they do provide the charted course. So it's no surprise that Samsung can continue to do well without J.Y. Lee being able to be in the office every day, but it could have long-term effects.
Yeah, it definitely could. And this was kind of a long time coming. We've been, I'm not sure if you have, but I've been reading about this happening for several months now about kind of the case. So it was expected, but nobody is really sure what's going to happen in the long term. But I would agree with you, Tom. I think that it will probably have some kind of negative effect on Samsung, but we just don't know what that will be yet.
And when you think of Samsung, don't just think of Samsung phones, Samsung appliances. Remember that the Samsung group is a lot of different things. It's financial, it's transportation, it's the baseball team. There's all kinds of things involved. And knowing where to allocate those resources is what somebody like J.Y. Lee does. What's very concerning to Samsung is that in the past, if one of these cable heads was convicted of corruption, they were generally pardoned, and the current president of South Korea has indicated he will not do any pardoning in going forward.
Yeah, which is surprising because they also say that they're planning to appeal the decision. So I'm wondering what's going to happen next. I guess we'll just have to sit and wait.
Well, the appeal will be submitted, and if they're allowed to appeal, they'll go to court again and try to get Jay Wiley found innocent instead of guilty. But it's not over yet. Yeah.
Last Thursday, Amazon opened up its influencer program to YouTubers. The program lets vetted people set up a storefront with links to products they earn commission on. It's similar to using affiliate links, but offers a custom URL. So I've been also following this one for quite a while because it's something that I'm hoping that I can sign up for. I signed up for it this morning, and it's currently in pending status, and they say I'll hear back in like 5 to 7 days. But this Amazon influencer program, which is just for YouTube right now, sounds like it's a lot easier for people to send out their links to other folks instead of just having currently affiliate links with Amazon. You have to link to a specific product, and that's something that's in their terms of service. With the custom URL, though, you can link to like your own storefront on Amazon and get that awesome commission, which is supposed to be a little bit higher than affiliate links as well.
It is. I couldn't find anything that confirmed that. That was my one.
That's what I heard during the beta when I was doing some research on it, and it's hard to find the information on it. But
the TechCrunch article implied that it would be the same rate, but yeah,
I've heard different.
Okay, so because that makes a difference right there.
Maybe it was different when it was in beta. Maybe it's the same now.
Well, it's still in beta. It's just that they added the automatic YouTube sign up to it rather than having to have. Basically, before you kind of had to have Amazon reach out to you. You could apply, but may or may not hear back. Now you've got this automated form where it checks your YouTube status. And I had the same situation as you, Shannon, where it approved me, and I actually even have the drop-down link for the influencer program link, but it still lists me as pending. And as far as I know, all it's doing is replacing what used to be called the A store. I've had a store at TomMerritt.com forever. For a long time, called the A store. The A store is being phased out in October. The only difference, unless there's a commission difference, which could be a significant difference, the only difference is they're giving you a vanity URL. I mean, I can make my own vanity URL. I did. I go to TomMerritt.com/store. Boom, vanity URL. I didn't need Amazon to do that, but I guess it's nice that they do that. And certainly the interface is going to be much better, and it's definitely easier to add products than it was in the old A store. Yeah. But this is a lot of polish, not a lot of difference in the substance as far as I can tell.
Yeah, unless the commission changes. I also noticed that they're going to be opening that up to other social networks too. Yeah. So not just influencers on YouTube. So if you're on Instagram and stuff like that, you can potentially be able to sign up for it on there as well. And I don't know anything about what the minimum subscriber count is or anything like that currently, but apparently they look at those numbers as well as engagement. So I guess we'll have to find out, but I'm very interested as an influencer myself in how this will pan out.
Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab has pitched a plan to NASA to use its Dragonfly quadcopters to explore Saturn's largest moon, Titan. Titan has a dense atmosphere and weak gravity, making it pretty favorable for flight. The copters could use mass spectrometry, gamma ray spectrometry, and other sensors on multiple sites to assess the composition and conditions of the surface and atmosphere. The craft would also use radioisotope thermoelectric generators for the power. It's not going to use solar power out there on Titan. The proposal is among those being considered for the New Frontiers mission, which is expected to launch in mid-2019. So if you watch the video, they have a great presentation. A lot of it's is very much technical and presenting what they want to do, but there's some good simulations of these quadcopters or quadrocopters flying around Titan, going from place to place, which gives them a lot more flexibility. They can visit a lot more sites that way.
Oh, it's awesome. I want to see this happen. I'm so obsessed with learning more about the planets that are in our solar system, especially the moons as well, because of all the potentials of being able to build our own scientific data just off of analysis that we get from other lands, things that aren't necessarily available on our planet. So this is cool. And it's such a new and interesting way to develop information from other planets as well that we haven't seen before. So I'm not sure how well it'll work, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. And we'll see if this ends up being the one that gets selected.
Yeah,
hopefully
definitely.
They build in some sort of self-cleaning apparatus or some sort of functionality, because you definitely, I mean, once it's there, you're not bringing the quadcopter back in for maintenance. So it has to be super robust, it's a simple device, but it has dynamic parts, and typically with dynamic parts, they get gummed up over time, especially with particulate matter. So
right.
A lot of that is covered in the presentation if you take a look at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Plastic molding company Nisei Eco Co. coded software to let the robot Pepper from SoftBank perform Buddhist funeral rites. Pepper demonstrated by chanting and tapping the drum at the Life Ending Industry Expo 2017, which is a funerary industry conference. Pepper runs $450 to do a ceremony, where a human priest costs up to $2,200.
One of the problems is not enough people are dying at once in Japan because people, the birth rate has been going down and people are living longer. So those two things combine to reduce the number of funerals that have to be done, which, you think, oh, that's a good thing, except if you're a funerary priest, because you can't get enough work. So the priests are taking on other jobs, which means they're less available for funerals, which ironically means there sometimes aren't enough priests to do the funerals that are being conducted. And that's one of the reasons that Nisei put on this demonstration. Now, the Life Ending Industry Expo is a really out of context, a very disturbing name for a conference. But I think this was probably as much to get some press for Nisei Eco as anything. But you didn't have the most enthusiastic response to this when we first saw this story today, Shannon.
Oh, no, I thought it was a horrible idea. I've never been to a Buddhist funeral before, but I have been to a Buddhist temple, and just the feeling of spirituality that you get from these human beings that are just completely divulged in their rituals for their religion. I feel like having a robot do the rites at a funeral would completely take you out of scope, out of spec for that funeral. And I feel like it would just be very different. It wouldn't feel like you're actually there spiritually. So even as a person who is not religious myself, I just think that it takes away some of the respect and the rites ritually that you would get at a funeral for that person who has passed away.
Yeah, I have been to a Buddhist funeral. One of my wife's best friends, when her dad passed away, we went to his funeral, and it was in a Buddhist temple. And I was struck at the time how similar a lot of the rituals are around death, which I don't think is any big surprise. And they are very ritualistic in all religions. There are things you say and things you repeat. And so I can see where it would be tempting to say, oh, well, we only have $450 to give the priest. Great. Let's get the Pepper robot to do it. And maybe somebody like me would put this in my will. Like, you're going to have Pepper do my funeral.
Right. Yeah.
But you're right. When you really think about it, funerals are for the survivors. And if that's going to take you out of it, if it's going to lighten the mood in the wrong way, that's not the best way. I guess where I'm getting at, I'm kind of thinking this out loud. It certainly changes the tone, and for some people that is going to be a deal breaker. That is not going to be what they want in a funeral, but for some people that may be what they want. They want to have people smiling and have a robot up there. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be one that would want to party during my funeral, so maybe I would like it. But I have another question. What if the robot runs out of batteries, like in the middle of it?
Yeah,
what do you
make
do?
Sure you charge the robot, or I'm asking for part of my $450.
Then it's a sign from a great beyond that this ritual should stop. No, I was wondering if they could meet him halfway, where the priest wouldn't physically have to be there, but through the robot, you would have the priest's face like in the screen. In lieu of the
well, that's not the way Pepper works. That's an interesting way to do it, to save travel time and
but
such.
You could alleviate, because you technically would have an actual blood and flesh priest. They're just doing tele-religion instead.
Yeah, you can do that iPad up on a robot and have them come in by Google Hangout. Ethan Kane in our chat room points out, isn't it really about what's important? Are the words, the actions, the sounds, or the intent what's important? And I think that's well put. Whatever
that's
the intent of the family is.
Like that's why I was getting at. It feels like you lose that respect for the person who has passed if you put a robot up there, as opposed to, putting somebody up there who has lived their life under the priesthood, as opposed to a robot.
Again, and I think it totally depends on the person, because I think you could absolutely be right. In my friend's father's case, I don't think this would have felt appropriate. In my case, please have Pepper or better yet, an open source robot perform.
I'll keep that in mind for you, Tom.
Yeah. I have to go update my will now. The UK has approved the first trials of semi-automated truck convoys by the end of 2018 by Transport Research Laboratory. Transport Research Laboratory is really interesting. I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but it was a company set up by the UK to test things in the 30s for transportation and travel and roads. And it is now a private company with a nonprofit foundation that runs it. Anyway, it's going to conduct these trials. Up to 3 trucks will travel in a platoon with a human driver in each one. Meanwhile, Tesla plans to unveil a prototype electric big rig with 200 to 300 mile range next month. That would be just enough range to call it long haul. It's at the very, very shortest end of long haul. Scott Perry, an executive at Ryder, met with Tesla and told Reuters the range number. That's how they found out about it. Tesla has been out there claiming it's developing electric big rigs with 1,000-mile range and self-driving capability. It doesn't look like that's what we're going to see this year, though. And just to complete the picture, don't forget Daimler, which has been working on electric trucks, is going to start putting into production a 100-mile range truck. That's short distance, short hauling. 30% of U.S. trucking jobs, though, are regional trips of 100 to 200 miles. So a big chunk of your trips, not only in the U.S., but in Europe too, can be served by these electric trucks and possibly save on fuel.
Yeah, I used to have an uncle. Well, I still have an uncle who was a truck driver. He's since retired. I know one of the arguments with this kind of thing is if you're automating, you are also kicking people out of their jobs. If we take my uncle, for example, he decided to move on from driving trucks to working in the offices and working on automating the processes to get products onto those trucks. So he found a new experience in the trucking industry that he really appreciated before he retired. I think it's really cool that they're trying to find ways to automate these big rigs to, travel farther, because people like my uncle, he had to sleep on the side of the road, and sometimes he didn't get good sleep because of where he was stuck at, or it was loud outside, or he was in a parking lot or something like that, and he had to sleep. So I think it's cool. I think it's really neat that they're trying to do this, and it's a really positive move.
Folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com, available as a podcast on the Amazon Echo, on the Google Home, and in the Anchor app at anchor.fm. So we have a Slack for people at our analysts level on Patreon, and we have some great conversations in there. Yesterday, Bruce wrote the following possible show topic idea: JIT learning, or JIT learning. It's just in time. That's what that stands for. Not quite like in the Matrix, he says. I know Kung Fu, but my kids don't really want to learn what my parents and I considered life skills. They'd rather just find a YouTube video if they ever run into it. I made one of them help me change a valve stem in a faucet in their bathroom this week, and the eye rolling was almost audible. I showed them how to use a toilet plunger several times when they clogged a toilet, but when it happened while I was at work this summer, they watched a YouTube video on how to do it before trying. And in some ways, that's pretty handy. But is it good? Do they lack a general knowledge about root causes to even know what to look up? Or is this better? They can focus on things that are actually interesting to them and only look up life skills when they need them. Or will they be aware that they're lacking them? And then he went on to add the example that his eldest is taking driving lessons. They insist she learn how to change a tire, and she thinks that's dumb. If she gets a flat, she'll just Google it.
Oh boy.
Well, I don't think she's thinking that through all the way, because the last thing you want to do when you're on the side of the road at night, because you always have a flat tire at night or when it's raining or something, you don't want to have to sit there and try to get a connection and look up Google. You probably should know how to change the tire before that. But that said, I'm not against just-in-time learning in a lot of situations, and it's something I've personally taken advantage of a lot. I didn't have the luxury of having someone show me how to replace a valve stem or clean out the air vent in a dishwasher. And those are two things that I have learned within the past several years by watching a YouTube video.
I could say that I've had the same experience with a lot of financial stuff that I didn't learn when I was growing up, like how to get your first car loan. And I was able to Google it, for example. But there's a lot of times when there's things that you can't learn from watching a video online, things that you should learn by getting hands-on, like the things that require your hands a lot more, like cooking. You can watch a cooking video, but you're not really going to understand it until you actually start doing it yourself, and a lot of that requires a lot of hands-on experience to really get good at it. Like maybe the first time you can figure it out, like sewing is another good example. The first time you might be able to do it okay, but to really get an expertise on a long run, it requires a lot of doing it yourself, not just learning once off with a YouTube video.
As someone who recently moved into a house that requires some work, and also someone who works on their car on occasion when I feel like it, it's YouTube videos and just-in-time learning remind me of those DIY books you used to pick up at the bookstore.
Oh, sure.
Like, oh, how do I change a tire? How do I do this? And what I found is they're most useful if you already have a contextual knowledge in order to use it, right? Like, for example, I need to pull out the spark plugs on my car, but because it uses a ignition on spark plug, not like a distributor cap, like the old style, it works a little different, but I already know that, so I know what to look for. But if I went to go search for how to change a spark plug, because there's so many different types of cars, so many different types of engine setups, you could easily get lost and be picking up the wrong information, or perhaps not the exact information that you think you wanted, but you wouldn't realize that because you didn't have the contextual information.
And that's absolutely the same for cooking. You know, things like, melt butter. Well, they're assuming you know what the point at which butter starts to clarify is, and what browned butter is going to do to your recipe. They're assuming all kinds of things that if you're the first time you're ever cooking, you don't know that. You're just going to be like, okay, melt the butter. So, and that's the minorest of examples, but there are all kinds of examples of that. And let's walk through this for a minute, because I think what we're saying is, with anything, the more you know about the general space, whether it's working on a car or working on appliances or cooking or sewing, the better you are at not only that original task, but related tasks.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with just-in-time learning as a trade-off. Just-in-time learning says you shouldn't have to master everything. That's a waste of your time because you don't know what you're going to run into. The kids are right there, I think, Bruce. But you should have a grounding in the basics. I wish someone had showed me how to change the oil on my car. I wish someone had showed me how to repair a dishwasher. I wish someone had taught me to sew, but I didn't get any of those things. I had to teach myself them. But once I learned the basics, well, except for the sewing, I'm still really suck at that. But the other two, I've gotten better and better. And I did actually have, my grandmother was great at teaching me cooking. So I had some basics, but the more I did it, the better I got at it. So I think it's a combination of teaching kids, just-in-time learning is there, and that's a great resource to run it to look at things that you've never encountered before. But let me teach you the basics of just about how stuff works to give you a leg up, because otherwise it'll take you 3 times as long.
Right, exactly. I've actually taken this into account when I've done my own work, because I've grown, like, for example, I've grown this show called Hack Tip, which is HAK Tip, and it's found over on the Hack5 YouTube. But I figured out when I first started on Hack5 that in the InfoSec industry, there's not a lot of good information for newbies, for beginners who are just getting into that profession. So I took it upon myself to figure out the theory behind all these different software protocols and wireless protocols and data and coding information that you really have to build upon to understand InfoSec. And I created a show out of it. But in order to get that show across, it's not just-in-time learning. It's a whole series of videos that I had to create to really get people understanding not only how to do the thing, how to type in something into Wireshark and make it run a thing, but also understand the theory behind why it works, how it works, and how you can actually use this in the real world, not just when you run into this specific problem that I'm using as an example. And what we see a lot of times on YouTube is just that one video of that one example and not the theory behind it. And that's something that you can't replace. You can't get that unless you take a long period of time and understand that theory behind it. So sure, like you could show up on the side of a road and change your tire, but if you run into a problem where you're driving like a much larger truck or something like that, or maybe you need to do something else with your car, you're not going to learn that from one video that shows you how to change like a motorcycle's tire or something like that.
Not fast.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember
take a lot longer.
The first time I ever had to change a flat tire, it was hard. It took me a long time, and I had to pull out the manual out of the glove compartment and figure out how to do it. The next time I had to do it was much faster, because I already knew a bunch of it. I'm like, oh, right. No, I know where the jack is now because I had to do it that last time. The other thing is, just-in-time learning requires you to have a good source on YouTube or wherever you're getting your information. So if you know the basics of how an area works, you're going to have a better time judging what the good sources are, who the people are that make sense. I've found this to be absolutely true in doing technology tips. I was fairly savvy with technology before I started working at Tech TV in 1999. But I quickly found that there are a lot of people out there who post things that aren't exactly right or are prone to misinterpretation. And the more I did help content at Tech TV and at CNET, the better I got at being able to immediately identify, like, okay, this one isn't a very good one. Let me move on to another one that can help me fix this problem faster.
I ran into the same thing when I was doing InfoSec work and when I was trying to develop these shows for HackTip. It's very hard to find that information and if you just Google one thing and you click on the first page of links, you might not necessarily find the tutorial that has every single step written. They might assume that you already know something, and I think that's so important. That's why we have classes on these kind of things. That's why people go to school. You can't replace education in a school because they do take the time to teach you theory behind these kinds of concepts. Hopefully life hacks are included in that schooling. A lot of times it is not. And I think that's where older generations come into play, and they should take that time to teach you things and get you hands-on and take you under their wing and, teach you, not just stick you in front of YouTube and have you learn something there.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just going to add, it's like generally, if you are one of those people that does hop onto YouTube to pick up something really quick, be skeptical of things you see and don't immediately click on the first one thinking, aha, I found the answer and that's it. It's more of a like, okay, you got something, see how it's jives with what you're trying to do, and maybe it might be, maybe not. I did this. I was replacing one of the faucets, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I actually don't have this kind of faucet I thought I had. And I was watching a video, and it's like I just wasted 20 minutes learning the wrong thing. Go back, and I spent a lot of time. It was a lot of trial and error. But generally,
that goes back to my point, where the more you know about a space, the faster you can identify that stuff. Next time you need to fix that sink, that's not going to happen to you because you've learned that.
Yes. Right. Also consider that it is technology. So whenever you are dealing with trying to find information online, you are at the will of your computer. So if your computer dies, if your wireless isn't working, if your phone's battery is dead, if you can't get a connection on whatever side of the road that you're ending up on because your tire is flat, you might not necessarily be able to log on to YouTube and be able to Google whatever you need to search for. So keep in mind, it's always a good idea to learn these things ahead of time, because if you don't, you might be SOL, to put it that way.
That's called just too late learning, JTL.
Just too late learning. Yes, I love it.
Hey, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. Submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com and in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. Quick note from Derek about the conversation yesterday on Amazon. He says, I want to point out, while advertising doesn't make up the core of Amazon's business like it does for Google and Facebook, Amazon does actually sell ads with the ability to use collected data to target its users. On Amazon.com, ads will most likely be focused on pushing one's product, but Amazon also owns sites like IMDb and Twitch, which operate more like a traditional digital company, making revenue through advertising. Thank you, Derek. And thank you, Shannon Morse, for joining us. Where can folks find more of your lovely face and information? Oh, we lost Shannon's audio. So, oh, there we go. Now it's back.
There you go. Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, you can find all of my information over at hak5.org or techthing.com. We've been doing a lot of cool stuff over on both of those sites and YouTube channels as well. For example, I just reviewed this $30 Eufy Genie, $35 Eufy Genie, which basically has Amazon Echo built in, and it's way cheaper than a Dot. So it's a great alternative if you don't have the money to buy a Dot or an Amazon Echo.
See, this is the beauty of this space, because we mentioned the Eufy on DTNS. We didn't have a chance to dig into it. That's why you go get Tech Thing. Go to Tech Thing and they'll give you the scoop. TEKTHING.com. The lovely Len Peralta has also been working on art this entire show. Len, what do you got for us? Len's muted. That's why why are we having problems hearing people? Come on, don't be afraid. Speak up. You're going to be fine.
There we go.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry, I muted myself for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, what I was saying is that I've done just-in-time learning as well. And, I've been burned a couple times, but it has come in handy. But I do think, at least for kids, it's important for them to know what is the right way, what's smart and what's not. Here is something that I think every kid should know. It's what to do if you are dealing with vampires or vampire clowns.
The worst kind of vampires.
Exactly. You just can't go in and think you can use a stake and a cross against a vampire clown. They take something completely different, maybe like rubber noses or something, rubber chickens. So it's important that you use just-in-time learning to know how to deal with things and know, just know the basics, essentially.
Yeah. No, this is the scariest clown with the cutest kids. And I'm really rooting for the kids to hurry up and finish watching that YouTube video so they can defeat this clown.
Yeah. And down in the corner, he's saying, "Hey guys, VamClown82 here. I'm going to show you how to defeat any vampire werewolves." See?
That's awesome. I love it.
Vampire werewolves.
As a prepper, I can really relate to this.
That's right. That's absolutely right. I am, I don't know. I had it on the brain today, I guess. So
yeah, that's understandable. Well, folks, go check it out. LenPeraltaStore.com. You have to at least go take a look. It's so good. Every week you amaze me, Len.
Thank you so much. I amaze even myself.
And thanks to everybody who supports this show at patreon.com/DTNS. We've got some really cool news coming up September 1st about the Patreon. So keep coming back. And thank you to everybody who has helped us get to our goal of having at least one more patron than last month. We do need new people to keep signing up because, people run into difficulties and they have to cancel. So we want to keep that level up above one patron. And if you sign up at any level, you get access to our exclusive pre and post show audio RSS feed. In the pre-show today, we were talking about, we're reminiscing about the early days of podcasting with Shannon and Len talking about the podcast that he did back then, and Roger. So go check it out at patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back on Monday with Veronica Belmont. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Yay!
Good show, you guys. Thank you.
Oh, that was awesome. I have to actually take off because I'm going to go look at a house that's been
haunted by a vampire clown.
No, it might have been. No, it's this house that's in our neighborhood that's been under construction for like about better part of the year, and they've like done everything to it. Tonight's the open house for it, so they're opening it up to neighbors before they.
We would never do anything else in my neighborhood if we went to see every one of those. It's ridiculous here, but go have fun.
It's gonna be fun.
Are you gonna Instagram it?
I don't know if I'm gonna Instagram it, but
are you gonna put a bid?
No, I'm not gonna put a bid on it. But the house was a total mess.
Yeah,
it was a mess, and so I'm really excited to see what it looks like now. So,
well, have fun,
cool,
man.
All right,
I said hello.
I will. All right, take care, everybody.
All right, bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
We need a title, Roger.
Roger does more than show screens.
He does. I never meant to imply otherwise.
I ran so far away from Iran,
Iran.
which is a SNL reference. Apple being sanctimonian.
It's a Flock of Seagulls reference too.
Not enough people
Apple
are
being
dying.
sanctimonian.
Sanctimonious. Okay. All right.
More polished than substance. Not enough people are dying. Death of a job. How do you change a tire? YouTube it.
Death of a Job actually covers a couple of different angles on different
I like
stories.
that one. I'm going to vote for that one.
All right.
Don't assume YouTube knows all.
Just in a good time.
The Human Slideshow. Why is free okay? iTunes not welcome in Iran. iTunes.
Tom sucks at sewing.
It's an art form. Samsung's batteries are not the only thing that's corrupted.
Just too late learning.
Pepper don't preach. Oh, that's great.
That's a good one. Preach. TLG, the learning Google. Mrs. YouTube, the new teacher.
Pepper don't preach.
Rely on YouTube to master life. Do not. Oh, it's like a Yoda thing. Rely on YouTube to master life. Do not.
Rely on YouTube to master life. You do not. That didn't even sound like Yoda, but
yeah.
I thought it was great.
I like Death of a Job.
I liked Death of a Job until I heard Pepper Don't Preach. Now I'm torn.
I like Pepper Don't Preach.
Yeah.
All right. I think 2 versus the 1. 2 versus the 1.
I ordered one of those headsets too, so I know you heard some echo today.
Were we getting it from you? I wasn't sure if it was you or.
Must have been, because I know Roger muted him and Len, so it was probably my speakers.
It came and went too. That was the weird thing, is I didn't hear it at all before the show, and then I mentioned it at one time because it was bigger, and then it sort of went away for a while, and then it came back. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
I don't hear it now.
Yeah. You don't hear it now?
No. Isn't that weird?
Okay. Because I lowered my speakers, but then I turned it up, and now it's up again.
Well, if I don't hear it, maybe I talk louder when. No, I still don't hear it.
That's say Pepper.
Okay. Oh, now I heard it on Roger. Now I hear it again.
Game day, Sunday.
Did you do something just then, Shannon?
Not me. No.
Sunday.
But I'm gonna get one of those little headsets in that you guys recommended. So once that delivers, if it is coming from my end, it'll be taken care of.
You just use earbuds. If you don't.
I don't have any good ones though. I used to have Apple ones, but I sold or threw away all of my old ones. So now all I have is like a giant headset. But I don't like to wear this during the show because it hurts my ears so much.
So, are those the ones that sit on your ears? They don't go around them.
Yeah, they sit over your ears. They're for gaming, and they're really nice, but they just hurt the side of my head, so I don't wear them very often.
Are they? Do you wear them a lot?
Just for gaming. So no, not very often.
Yeah. Like if you had a basketball or something, you might be able to like
stretch them,
wear them out. Yeah, just get the ear thing.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll just have my husband wear them.
Does your heart have a large head? I don't remember.
No, he's pretty skinny.
Seems like a pretty normal size
head.
If
you get a watermelon you want to eat, but you need it to
Roger, you should rat yourself out. You're always talking about how you think your head is very big.
Yeah, I don't think I know. I have a larger than average large head. Like I'm at the upper tier of what they sell.
Brains, man.
That's what my parents say. I hope Ellie doesn't come out. Well, she already has a beluga dome.
Ellie's smart.
Yeah. Too smart.
Too smart.
They learn too quickly, fast.
Yeah, I used to for a while. I was using earbuds here and just wrapping them behind my head around my ear, so you couldn't really see them. But then they'd fall out all the time, and it was not comfortable.
Yeah, I like the little. What are they called? The IFBs.
Yeah, that's what I've got now.
Earpiece. Yeah,
although
I like those. I used to wear one up at Twit, and it was great. But
I
ordered the one.
Oh, good. I was doing a recording yesterday where I was putting someone in the left channel and me in the right. And suddenly I was like, wow, your volume went really low because I forgot I was only getting one channel. Oops.
Oh, yeah, this has a headset jack on it. Sweet. My Yeti.
Yeah, this thing. What is this thing? It's an OTIG, right? Oh,
Cool.
I can't remember how to spell it.
Yeah, I ordered whatever it was that you recommended to me last time I was on.
Yeah, I think it's OTIG.
OTIG. Yeah, whatever it was.
I don't know. I'll put it in my new influencer store on Amazon.
There you go.
Once I no, but so if
are
you
they
go to,
approved or are they just? I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't tell.
The URL doesn't work yet, but it looks like we've got all of the functionality. So I think we're pre-approved. They probably can't put in things as fast as people are applying for it.
Oh.
But yeah, if you go to tommerritt.com/store, you'll see a link on there that says Tom's Amazon Store, which is actually astore.amazon.com/subrcom-20, which is just my affiliate code. And that here, I'll show it on the video.
Tom's Amazon Store
is what's getting replaced with this influencer store.
Oh,
They're getting rid of this in October. But this is something anybody could set up, whereas the influencer thing you have to be approved for.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I currently have affiliate links, and those work fine, but it would be great to just be able to link out to just one link that I can be like, go here and check out my recommendations.
Well, and that's why I was a little scoffing at this when I first read about it. I'm like, so they give you a vanity URL. I mean, that's nice because it's an Amazon URL, but it's not really like that different. And if they're not changing the affiliate percentage at all, it's not different at all. But I also, once I started setting it up, I was like, oh, they've done a bunch of really good interface changes to this thing. So it's way easier to add products than it was with the A store. So there's more to it than just that.
Yeah, I'll need to find info on their commission rates.
Yeah, they're being pretty cagey about that. I bet they're giving different ones to different people.
So
that would explain why you heard the beta people.
This one's 4th of April 2017 says influencer program will offer higher commissions than their affiliates. And that was from cpcstrategy.com. I don't know who they are.
I don't know who they are.
Let me see if they have a link in here.
I would.
Influencer program.
That's the kind of place that might just say that because they thought it made sense. It could also be that the influencers they signed up at first were getting a better rate, but now that they're opening it up to everybody, they don't want to promise.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I mean, they can't afford to give everybody a better rate.
Yeah, no, they couldn't.
I'll take a better rate. I'm just saying, if you're listening, Amazon, totally give me a better rate. Fine.
I mean, the affiliate links are pretty awesome. They give pretty good rates, but you know, it's a few percentage points or whatever.
Yeah, and I already had that A store, so it's the same affiliate program. It's all in the same listing.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. Let me see if my influencer. I'm going to tell everyone to buy fidget spinners.
Fidget spinners.
Because I'm an influencer. Go to my Amazon store at amazon.com/shops/Daily Tech News Show and buy a fidget spinner.
Wonderful fidget spinners.
Okay, influencers. There's the section. Pending is my page. So my status is that I'm accepted, but my page hasn't launched. That makes sense. So
I have the same thing.
They're taking a while to spin up these pages.
Okay.
Because they're getting so many.
Well, cool. I hope that does mean that both of us got approved.
It looked like we did.
Sweet.
So
yay.
Pepper Don't Preach is the official name.
Hey, have you heard they came out with Logitech came out with a 4K webcam, and apparently it's horrible to try to set it up.
Well, this is the problem with Logitech, is everything you buy from them that isn't the C920 has a problem.
Yep.
The freaking C920 is awesome and a workhorse, but it's how many years old now?
I know. It's so old. I think I have the C920. Oh, it's not written on here. I like how all of us are just like, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at my camera right now. I don't know.
I just bought another C920 for a friend of mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had a C922, and I looked at it, and it's like, oh, it had some firmware thing to make it easier to stream on YouTube. I'm like, well, I don't need to pay extra for that. It was like another $20.
I don't want that crap.
I just want the good camera. And until there's a really good 4K one, that's all I'll need.
C9. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think I don't know. Maybe they built the one and they just laid off the entire sensor team. It's like, well,
they just had to keep making it. So what's the 4K one?
It's the 4K Pro.
That's the model number, or is it the Brio?
4K webcam. It's the.
It's $200.
Oh.
Is it the Brio? This one has a 4K image sensor and HDR, and is
Logitech 4K Pro webcam. It's $200.
Yeah. Okay.
Specs.
It's more expensive than the Brio.
Yeah. Part number PN 960001178. Although
the Logitech 4K Ultra HD Pro webcam looks exactly like the Brio.
Yeah.
It might be just
but
the
it's
same
$10 more.
No, the Brio 4K is $200 on Logitech.
I'm looking at Amazon. Amazon's got the Brio for $159.99 and the 4K Ultra HD Pro for $169.99.
Ooh.
Although this is refurbished.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Certified, but still refurbished.
Interesting.
Only 8 left in stock. I should buy all 8 right now.
Oh, I see. The Brio webcam has a Right Light 3, so it does HDR. But I don't know.
Yeah, the 4K Pro also says it does HDR.
Man, I don't know, man.
Oh, man. They're confusing me.
I think they're the same camera, and some guy thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to give it a different name.
The Brios makes a big deal about video conferencing, so I bet it's got software in the firmware for video conferencing.
I bet you it's whatever's packaged software.
Yep.
With the camera. Like, it's not even firmware. It's just like, install this. And it's just a serial number. It's not even a disc.
Right. You're right. Totally. That's totally what it is. It's just bundled software. It's not even firmware.
You know, one of the shots of these guys.
We're down to exactly the same number of patrons as last month. So we need another patron now. Come back. Come back. Come back.
I'm sorry. I'll be better slideshowing.
I'm already a patron. Can I patron twice? No, I guess
that doesn't. Yeah, no.
I have multiple accounts.
Just don't cancel.
I won't cancel. I would never cancel on you, Tom.
Thank you. I appreciate
you
that.
mean too much to me.
And likewise, I will never cancel on you either.
Thanks.
I cannot make that promise because I am not a. I can't see into the future.
I see you in my list.
I'm in the list. All right, folks. Thanks for watching. We are out of here. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy your time with each other. Be good and be careful out there. And all the other sign-offs from all the hit shows of the 1980s.